Here's John Espinosa, scores! Second straight game with a goal. Salinas able to find the space to cross for Wasilewski, and it somehow gets through.
Come on.
Third straight game off the bench with a goal for the best scorer in MLS history.
We have been here for almost 5 weeks, so we can stay 2 more and go all the way to the final.
And LAFC able to cash in all that pressure and reel themselves in an opening goal.
Let's get right into the highlights. Bob Bradley and company taking on the Seattle Sounders. And oh no, Xavier Arriaga bringing down Diego Rossi, and he makes him pay for it, Charlie Davies.
He didn't have himself too good of a night. And
No.
that man, Diego Rossi, did.
Sure darn did. He takes over as the Golden Boot presented by Audi leader. And then check this out. Oh, an unlucky deflection off Shane O'Neill from Latif Blessing would make it a 2-0 game. Bob Bradley loves it. And then in the 75th minute, though, Seattle gets themselves back in it. A absolutely beautiful ball from Jovan Jones finds Will Bruin, who buries it. And you got the thinking that maybe Seattle had a little bit left in them. And then, oh no. Oh, Raul. You
That
thought
was close.
he was going to bury it.
Vermeer
It was
finally
close.
made that big save. He finally
It was
made
close.
the big save.
And then this was just the dagger here after this. That's this man again, Diego Rossi. Just another, you mentioned it, Arriaga with the defensive mishap. Diego Rossi makes him pay. That's his 7th goal of the tournament. And LAFC would not look back after this one. Brian Rodriguez would tack on another goal for LAFC. It'd be a 4-1 finish. Here's a look at the game stats from this one. And, I mean, possession-wise, you look, and Seattle did really well. But the shots, I mean, Seattle just didn't create enough. Did not create enough. So let's take a look at our updated bracket here. And it looks like we're gonna see LAFC taking on Orlando, and then San Jose, the winner of our earlier match. They will play the winner of Columbus or Minnesota. And Matt Doyle was having some fun during this one on Twitter, as he is wont to do. Let's see what he had to say. I think you did. I think you're trolling some people, Doyle. LAFC versus Orlando in the quarterfinals. Shame to see the 2 best teams in the league meet so early on. But dems the breaks. Doyle, come on. I love it. I love it. I wouldn't expect anything less. Honestly, I wouldn't expect anything else. What's up, guys? Welcome on into the MLS is Back Postgame Show presented by Audi. I'm Susanna Collins. I am joined by Matt Doyle, my guy Charlie Davies. So this match didn't go the way I had really anticipated it. I thought that Seattle were going to come out a little bit more intense than they did. But LAFC, man, from the jump, you got the sense that they wanted revenge against that postseason elimination against Seattle last year, and they got it done. They just seemed hungrier to me, Charlie. What do you think?
Yeah, there was a spirit to their game, and they pressed. They were relentless. They went after it. But once they got up 2-0, it was almost, all right, we got this in the bag. Seattle haven't been threatening. Also, Jordan Morris looked a little bit off because there was hesitation with Jordan Morris. We saw the grimacing. When Jordan Morris isn't at 100%, it takes a lot out of what Seattle can do and how they can hurt you. And he wasn't as aggressive. And I noticed that right off the bat with a couple of isolated 1v1 situations where he was coming in on the left side. And Dejan Jakovic is not going to keep up with Jordan Morris if it's 1v1, if he just takes him to the line. But he hesitated. And I knew something's off, whether it's fatigue or something was bothering or if he was trying to play through something, it showed. And then once Seattle got back into it, when Jovan Jones came into the game, because he started whipping those balls in early where Raul Ruidiaz can make those runs into the box, and Will Bruin, another threat just because he likes to hang on the off the defender's shoulders. He capitalized on that one chance. You saw 2-1, everyone kind of got, something could happen here. But then they stopped being wasteful in front of goal, LAFC, and you saw Diego Rossi finish them off, and then they're moving on.
Yeah. Doyle, anything you would like to add top level here?
No, I mean, like that. I think Charlie did a nice job of summing it up. There was that 10 minutes in the middle of the second half where it's like, oh, Seattle's going to get back into it, and LAFC is going to find a way to gack it up again. But then it was actually Seattle who did that, and we had kind of identified their center back pairing before the game as a weak point for Seattle, and it certainly played out that way.
Yep, indeed. Well, Seattle head coach Brian Schmetzer is sitting down at the podium right now. Let's hear what he has to say.
But, you know, we know we're capable of playing better, and we certainly will be playing better later in the year.
We'll go one last question here to Jose Moreno. Jose, your line is being brought off mute.
Coach, congratulations on completing the tournament. Obviously, it's not the end that you guys wanted, but thinking on the positive, what are some of the things that you saw from a quick turnaround perspective, and having to force your players to move to a whole new area and live essentially in a bubble? What are some of the things that you think or that you see are some of the positives in terms of leadership and also growth?
Well, I think all the teams that came down here to the bubble learned certain things. We learned to make do in some adverse conditions, you know, and, you know, training was a little bit different, the training rhythm, all of that sort of stuff. We had to adjust on the fly. So there's certain things that we can take for future road trips or future preseasons, because this was almost as long, it was actually our longest trip for a preseason and games. So we'll again take a look at everything, all the travel, all the meals, all the training, all the gym, all the workouts, and we'll try and get better.
The game plan was to press them, create turnovers in their half, and put them under pressure. They didn't threaten Seattle in that leg last year with balls in behind back and making Seattle's center backs have to face their own goal. Stretch them, play balls in behind, and keep them on their heels. And then on top of that, be aggressive on the dribble. When you're in those final third situation, take players on. Don't hesitate. And then we're going to create our chances. LAFC did that for the majority of the game. And when that happened, you talk about Arriaga and putting him under pressure and seeing what happens there. And Shane O'Neill. There were times where Shane O'Neill was able to make clearances, but I think on a whole, the confidence wasn't there. And I think he also knows I can't defend these guys 1v1 on the dribble. And so that was a huge issue for Seattle Sounders tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, Doyle, LAFC, if we look at their record all time against Seattle, I mean, they've handled them pretty well, aside from that result last year in the Western Conference Championship. I mean, LAFC have just always seemed to find a way to beat the Seattle Sounders team. So it was, in a sense, it was just more of the same.
Yeah, it was almost like a return to normal. Because if you think about the start of last year, the Sounders were playing great at the start of last year, and then they met LAFC, and LAFC just destroyed them. It was maybe the most impressive win of the year for LAFC. And then I think they drew at CenturyLink, but that was a game that LAFC completely controlled, and they just missed upon. They were even more profligate in front of net that night than they were on this night. I mean, Diego Rossi, 7 goals in the tournament, leading goal scorer, Golden Boot leader. He could have had 7 tonight. It was just always in on goal, and yes, he converted the penalty, and then he got the late one to sort of, it was the coup de grace. But this man was in on goal. It seems like every single touch, and when you're putting a team under that much pressure, you kind of make your own luck. Right? If you're the protagonist, then chances are you're going to be the one who gets the breaks. And they got it early with the penalty. They got it with the own goal, the deflected goal. And then, Seattle did come into the game a little bit, but LAFC seemed to be a lot tougher than they were last year during the playoffs. And that's not unusual. You got to take your lumps to get to the top, and they certainly took them the last time these two teams met.
Indeed they did. And speaking of all that pressure, I believe this is a perfect time to showcase Top Tier with Matt Doyle. Take it away.
In the playoffs in 2019, I mean, Eduard Atuesta was not doing his job. He was not being the defensive midfielder. It was just an immature performance from him. And this time in 2020, in the MLS's back tournament, he was actually the key to their high press. I think Bob Bradley put him in a position where he couldn't be a reactive defensive player. He had to be completely active. And that set the tone early, to the point where the Sounders got frustrated and started trying to play over the press, except they were doing it when they were stretched. So all it took was one pass. You win a 50-50, one pass, and then it's a 3v2 going in on goal. And this is actually sloppy from LAFC, but when you're forcing defenders to scramble, when you're forcing them back on their heels, they're going to make mistakes and you're going to benefit. And then again, Seattle getting sloppy, getting impatient, trying to play over the press. One pass cuts out 5 separate defenders from the Sounders, and then it's off to the races. Once again from LAFC, this is sloppy. This is not perfect. But if you're on the front foot, if you're the protagonists in the game, you're putting yourself in a position where you can capitalize on a defense's mistakes. You have them under 90 minutes of pressure. It was just a much more mature performance, and they deserve the win. That's why they're moving on.
Good stuff, Doyle.
Well
All right, Charlie, one of your X factors for this game you mentioned was Latif Blessing, one of my favorite guys to watch in Major League Soccer. He is just so much fun, and you saw his creativity again tonight.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that he brings to this LAFC side?
He's tenacious. He is active. I mean, he's breaking up plays. He was a beast tonight, whether it was defending, cutting out passes, whether he was using his body, and also on the attacking end, making the right passes, serving in the ball, finishing. I mean, it was considered a no goal, but it was off of his shot where Shane O'Neill sticks his body and deflects it into his goal. But he was making positive passes into the final third. And he was also a connector. He was contributing in the attack. His movement sets up Atuesta. And it was just a complete performance from Latif Blessing, and a reason why Bob Bradley shifted him to the midfield last year, and you saw his growth and development and basically taking over the midfield with Atuesta, being such a factor, pushing Lee Win to the bench because of his influence in the midfield. So again, Atuesta was fantastic tonight, but Latif Blessing made a huge impact.
Love it. Charlie, I want to stay with you because this is interesting. This was actually 3 years ago to the day. I mean, it is after midnight now, however, keep that in mind. Yesterday, my mind's still there. 3 years ago yesterday, Bob Bradley was named the head coach of LAFC. When you look at those 3 years that he has had at the helm of this club, how do you assess his growth as a coach? And I know that you have had a lot of experience with him. What have you seen?
Well, Bob Bradley has a special place in my heart, just how he's groomed me as a player and how he's treated me as a person. And now I've seen that with LAFC and how he's built this club, the foundation, and putting the right pieces to the puzzle together. And now it's always been about complete football, understanding everyone's roles and playing with a sharpness, with an intent, with a purpose, and being aggressive and delivering. Now with this team, I feel like he's pushing the right buttons. He's motivating the right players. You see the growth with Diego Rossi and Brian Rodriguez and Latif Blessing, developing players, but also making sure Carlos Vela is playing at his highest level and always pushing him, making sure he's not settling. And I think that's what you see with this LAFC team. They're not settling. Obviously, they didn't win MLS Cup last year, but he's trying to push the envelope that we're not good enough. We're nowhere near good enough. You're not good enough. I want more, and we can always work on our game. You've never learned enough. And I think with Bob Bradley at the helm, he's doing a fantastic job of bringing in the right players, but it's a balance because it's not just young players, it's not just experienced players, and it's not just players you're looking to sell on. It's players that you're looking to build a foundation on for many years. And I think he's done a great job of that.
Yeah, it's a conversation that we have had amongst our MLS colleagues about how Bob Bradley has seemingly raised the bar for the entire league in terms of what we expect, our expectations of coaches and teams, and certainly expansion teams. Doyle, do you think this LAFC team is the favorite now to win this MLS is Back tournament?
Yeah, probably. Given what they did to the Sounders, and granted the Sounders weren't playing well. This is not the same Sounders team that made it through the playoffs last year and hoisted MLS Cup. But anytime you beat this team in a knockout round tournament, you've made a statement. Certainly with the way they're scoring goals, that's a big statement as well. Mm-hmm. I do have concerns about their defense. Those are not entirely buried. Dejan Djokovic and Tristan Blackman both had nice games tonight, but you're kind of dancing on the knife's edge if those are you guys. But you have to give them their credit. And look, nobody else. Like Columbus has looked really good, but I'm not that impressed with the teams Columbus has played. Let's maybe revisit this after tomorrow night, and then we'll have a better idea of who the actual favorites are. I still
wouldn't revisit it after tomorrow night. You're gonna have to wait till the round after that.
Can we revisit Doyle's tweet? Orlando and LAFC, the two best teams. I mean, they're facing off against each other. Can LAFC extinguish this Orlando magic, this Disney magic that we're all experiencing right now?
Let's not forget that there's Disney in California as well soon.
Disneyland is trash. Disneyland's trash. I stand for Disney World.
LAFC are the favorites, but with the way that Orlando City have played, you have to be impressed with it. Especially, they've been so calm, and like complete opposite of the Sounders in terms of being calm and precise in playing out of the back. Like they faced some very good pressing teams in that group stage, and they played right through them. They played right through them, and they used the press against them. Said, okay, come upfield, because we're just going to hit you in behind. If they're able to do that against LAFC, if they're able to play through that press, that's when LAFC get into big trouble. It's going to be a fascinating game. LAFC are the favorites, but as you said, there's magic in Orlando, and it seems to be favoring the team in purple. So.
I love it. Here for it all day. All right, guys. Well, during the MLS is Back tournament, with every goal scored, Audi will contribute $1,000. There were 12 goals scored tonight. Heck yeah. And so far, there have been 117 tournament goals, totaling $117,000. During the MLS is Back tournament championship match, every goal scored is worth $5,000. And in addition, Audi will contribute $10,000 to the MLS is Back tournament Golden Boot Winners Academy Club. Very, very cool initiative. And let's look at the Golden Boot presented by Audi standings. And oh, hello, Diego Rossi, just adding 2 to his total. He is now firmly in the lead of that Golden Boot race. We saw Chris Wondolowski scoring goals tonight. He's on that list now. Bradley Wright Phillips. Anytime I can look at a list and see Chris Wondolowski and Bradley Wright Phillips' name
Zardes isn't
on it.
Either.
Yeah, I mean, this is just giving me this gives me the feels, you guys. It's kind of it's like the best of old and new, you know? I love it. Okay, well, speaking of Wando, let's get to those San Jose RSL highlights, shall we? Because this match had a little bit of everything. Matias Almeida has his team feeling it, and were they ever in the 21st minute? Because this goal is this setup right here, this little sequence of passes is just absolutely lovely to watch. And then Christian Espinoza with the delightful finish. Mm-hmm. He beats Matt Turner. It's just, that's as pretty as it gets.
Yeah, it was a wonderful back-to-front team goal, and then the Quakes are the Quakes, and even when they're playing really well and stringing the ball together, they're still going to have moments like that. And the thing about playing man marking is like one individual error is all it takes, but also the Quakes are the Quakes, so they're going to keep pushing. This is a big save, a big moment in the game right here. And then from this point on, it was all going in the other direction in all San Jose.
Indeed, it was. This one coming off of VAKO, and this is when you just started to feel like, okay, San Jose is in complete control in the 75th minute. RSL, though. Hello, Damir Kreilach. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. This was so much fun. And then 86th minute. Guess who? Guess who's in the right place at the right time, fellas? Where have we seen this before? Wondolowski. Unbelievable. I just want to note that that goal does not count in his all-time MLS stats, but counts on the score sheet, and that's all that matters. We're always here for Wando goals. Here's a look at the stats from that game. Possession was just, I mean, all San Jose in this one. They led on shots, chances, all of that. Ben Baer put out this tweet. Let's check this out. What did he have to say? He said, the first 6 teams to arrive in the bubble: San Jose, Orlando, Dallas, Columbus, Minnesota, Cincy. Okay, let's take Dallas out of the equation here. But do we see a trend? I think we might. And it's really interesting because I actually had a conversation with Tommy Thompson about this on the call-up. Jill and I were talking to him, and he said that they were the first team. San Jose was the first team to arrive there, and that was completely intentional. They wanted to get there early so that they could train, so that they could bond, so they could get used to the heat and acclimated, and it's certainly paid off for them. Guys, what do you think?
I think you're right.
No, go ahead, Charlie. Just especially because acclimating to the heat and humidity of Florida for any player is just brutal. So I assume the extra time that they put in has to help.
I know as a player, I would prefer to go down there and adjust, know what I'm going to be dealing with, whether it's the early morning matches, whether it's the late night matches, and training during those times to get used to it and having a lot of reps in those conditions. Because come game time, you're going to be feeling like, I've been through this. I know what to expect. I know how to manage my minutes too throughout trainings, whether it's, being aggressive and really pushing those minutes in training, or, okay, now's the time to like get your foot on the ball, just move it and not make as many sprints and just be tactically organized. So I think it did play a part in these teams having success.
100%. Let's hear what Magnus Eriksson had to say post-game about just that.
I think that this is one of the best performances we have done in a long time. Everybody feels confident on the ball. We're working hard together. So I mean, I'm pleased with the whole team, and we really feel like a strong group together, and that's important out there. We have been here for almost 5 weeks, so we can stay 2 more and go all the way to the final.
5 weeks. 5 weeks living that bubble life in Orlando, but as you said and as Magnus said, it has certainly paid off. But Doyle, for you, what has been tactically some of the keys to San Jose's success?
Well, I mean, tactically they just hit you with a different look, the man marking and the way they stretch the field. But part of stretching the field like that, putting the wingers on each side, is you need those wingers to produce. And if you looked at what happened last season, from August and afterwards, especially the last 6 games of the season, they had their playoff fate in their own hand. And the only person on the team who could put the ball in the net was Chris Wondolowski. That was it. He was their only reliable scorer. No winger scored in the last 2 months of the season last year. And now we have this tournament. They've played 4 games. They got a game winner from Shea Salinas. They got a game winner. You're seeing the Salinas one right here. They got a game winner from Eriksson. And now they have a game winner from VAKO as well. They have, I think, 4 or 5 goals in 4 games in this tournament from their wingers. These guys have been put into positions to succeed for the last 2 years under Matias Almeida. Last year, they did not. This year, so far in this tournament, they absolutely have. And it changes the way we talk and think about the Quakes. We can probably consider them contenders for the whole thing at this point. Because if these guys keep scoring, then this offense is like LAFC level. But we saw last year what happens when they go dry. They just don't have enough other answers. It cost the Quakes a playoff appearance last year. So far this summer, that team is nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
And,
Charlie, what do you think?
For me, it was VAKO was the man of the match tonight. He was spectacular. He had such an influence on San Jose. And when he plays like that, San Jose are very difficult to beat because you have Christian Espinoza and then you have VAKO. You have two wingers who can beat you on the dribble, who can create for themselves. And for him tonight, it was both sides of the ball. Here, he's checking back, takes the ball off Aaron Herrera, and then drives forward, takes positive touches, rides the challenge, plays it, and then continues his run. This is important. He's aware. He finds a good spot, sees Christian Espinoza pull off, plays it to him, bang, 1-0. And you're thinking, wow, okay, VAKO. Then VAKO here, working, pounces on the loose ball. Then this close ball control to get out of trouble makes a huge difference. Again, tracks back, takes off Aaron Herrera. It's the willingness to defend, the willingness to attack, and then his constant motion and movement. It allows the offensive players to be in a free-flowing in the final third. And then here, picks Zach McMath on the throw, takes a long-distance shot, didn't come off well, but again, works back to win it back, then continues, sees Rios' run, then continues his run into the box and finishes to cap it off. For him, he adds another dimension to San Jose Earthquakes. It was really a phenomenal performance from him, and we haven't seen the best of VAKO up until this point. Now I hope he can continue this form, because if he does, it really makes San Jose an interesting opposition.
Do you trust it, Charlie? Do you trust it? What we've seen from VAKO and Espinoza and Shea Salinas, do you trust that in the quarterfinals and the semifinals and even in the final, that this version of those guys is going to show up?
It's hard not to trust it. It's hard not
Really?
to trust it right now at the moment, because what I sense from San Jose is that they're full of belief. They're full of faith. You talk about that Vancouver match, the belief to come back being down 3-1, to win that game 4-3, and to be unbeaten in the group stage, and just to keep trying to put on performances and get better. I'm seeing a San Jose team that's getting better as the tournament goes on. And the guys are buying into the system, and they're understanding how can we get better from each game, each performance. What can we add to the table? And for me, VAKO is the difference maker.
Charlie's pumped up. He's feeling it.
I am pumped up.
No, I love it.
It's 1:45 in the morning, and I'm ready to go.
Exactly. If San Jose can keep me awake at 1:45 in the morning, then they're doing something right, you know? So they are definitely one of the feel-good stories of the tournament, and they await the winner of that Columbus-Minnesota match. What do we think of San Jose's chances against either of those teams? Is this a San Jose team that can compete with a Columbus, who we've sort of anointed as, you know, the most complete looking team of the tournament, and then or a Minnesota who has also looked dangerous at points? Doyle, what do you think?
I think that San Jose would be prohibitive underdogs against Minnesota. Minnesota owns San Jose. We've seen it earlier this year and multiple times last year, because with the man marking, San Jose, they man mark everyone except for one of your center backs. So whichever center back is not being marked has to get on the ball and drive forward and either force the defense to commit or make a play. We actually saw it tonight on the second RSL goal, when it was Silva just stepping into the midfield and nobody from San Jose picking him up, and that led directly to that Krylock goal. Minnesota has done this repeatedly against San Jose, whether it was Iko Para or Michael Boxall stepping on the ball and looking like Franz Beckenbauer. Like, they have the game plan to go against this. Columbus, I'm sure, will watch film. If they get past Minnesota, Columbus will watch film and have the same strategy in mind. I still think that man marking is a gimmick. I still think that with the right preparation, you could completely undo this San Jose team. And somebody's going to have to do it at some point, though, or else I'm going to look dumb. So.
You're just waiting for the shoe to drop, Doyle. Come on.
Yeah.
Where's the
That's what I'm
belief?
doing.
This is fun.
Doyle.
This is fun. This is fun.
Columbus.
It's fun to believe in
what,
San Jose.
what would be more appealing to you? Columbus, San Jose, or Minnesota, San Jose?
I think just aesthetically, Columbus has played better soccer. I love the way Columbus has played, and like I am a pure aesthetics guy, so like that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Okay.
But we would be dumb to count the Loons out at this point because they have proved the gang at MLSsoccer.com wrong multiple times over
And
the past
Adrian
18
Heath
months.
loves to point that out, doesn't he?
Adrian's
He
watching
sure
right now. What up, dude?
does. Hi, what's up, Adrian Heath? We love you, buddy. Oh, man, guys, it's going to be a great one tomorrow night. Make sure you tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. The Columbus Crew taking on Minnesota United. And then that will be followed up by our late game, and that is Portland taking on Cincinnati. Another fun story of this tournament. That game at 10:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. And remember to join us tomorrow for MLS Today, presented by AT&T. Before every match night, you can watch on MLSsoccer.com, MLS Facebook, and Twitter. And then we will be right back here to wrap it up for you on the MLS is Back Postgame Show, presented by Audi. That's after the match, late night. We love it. We're here. We're still awake. We're doing it for you. Guys, thank you so very much for tuning in and staying with us. We hope you enjoyed all the soccer. And go get some sleep. Rest up. More soccer to come. We'll see you soon.